At this moment, many people are wondering, what's going to be the results of Rio+20? What do we want from Rio+20? And we can say that Rio+20 is the time to care for our doughnut. And what do we mean with that? Rio+20, as shown in the conference logo, is addressing the integration between social, economic and environmental aspects. That is the conference logo. The idea of the integration is not automatic, for there is the balance issue, for example. If we just care about the economic dimension, what's going to be the result? The result is going to be people getting farther and farther from the environment and resources increasingly distant from those who need them. We can't fall in this trap. Another trap we can't fall into is to understand we have limitations. The world has limits, and we can't just ignore the environment or leave people aside or down under. We all must coexist into a single planet. That is the idea we must work when we think about Rio+20. And to address this idea, we have a discussion process that is very wide, full of different actors. We even tried to map these ones, and we saw the myriad of processes that are rolling. But we can simplify this story. And how is this? We must understand that in Rio+20 there is a convergence of three big tracks. One of them is the official track. It is the countries, the UN member states, negotiation among them, an official statement. This is a process happening in New York from the UN, with all the diplomacy, the bureaucracy and limitations, but also has its importance, very big. We also have an enormous amount of processes from civil society. We have many people discussing within the most different areas about what are the solutions, where can we go in order to live with the situation we have today, implementing sustainable development. And we have also a sort of curious, semi-official track in Rio+20. Those are the spaces shared by the government and the UNs, and also by civil society. For instance, we have some dialogue processes being proposed, some commitment registers, and we have many discussions that fit in this semi-official area, which deserves full attention. That can be very important as well. Well, all this shows us that in Rio+20 we'll be meeting to address sustainable development. And this meeting actually shows us that Rio+20 is a sort of starting point, a meeting point where we are going to set a goal towards which we want to go. We already have a bearing, which started in 1972 in Stockholm, in the first UN's global meeting on environment and development. This bearing was reaffirmed in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. We know where to go, we have no right to lose more time, and this bearing led us to 2015. And why 2015? First of all, because in that year we have the review of the Millennium Goals, which have been set in the year 2000 and that we are trying to implement, especially in fighting poverty. Their first term ends in 2015 and we have to check the next step. We also have a critical deadline for the climate discussions. In 2015, we must have ready a mechanism that allows us to reduce the greenhouse effect gases and advance in the huge challenge that is climate. And we also have a viable time limit starting in 2012 to implement and negotiate the new desired path. That is Rio+20, a meeting time, a time to set up the path we will take. We don't need to expect definitive solutions, but good solutions, good definitions of paths and goals for the next years. That's the energy of Rio+20. So this whole thing must point to some purpose. And the first purpose is human rights. Human rights represent our very civilization project. If we are not capable to ensure that everyone on the planet have their rights respected regarding nutrition and housing, political voice and citizenship, we will have failed as a civilization. This is not what we want. But another thing that we have to understand is that there are environmental limitations. The planet sets limits. Reality sets limits. It is just one planet and we have to coexist with that. It is useless to fantasize that we are going to be able to live without those limitations. Within this discussion, a proposal has been raised, and here comes the idea of the doughnut. Oxfam, an international organization that deals with issues like sustainable development, poverty and sustainability, has proposed a discussion which is gaining momentum in Rio+20, and I think it will last much longer than the meeting. This is the discussion of the doughnut model, in order to see what is the meaning of our civilization project. The coexistence in the doughnut has this shape. And what is the idea here? The idea is that in one side we have a social floor. This is the human rights, the human needs that have to be met. And we have, on the other side, a ceiling, a critical environmental limit ceiling. This environmental limitation ceiling must be respected. The coexistence place is within the doughnut, within this interval, where we will have to distribute resources in a fair and viable way. And there is also the economy idea. After all, economy is responsible for the distribution of resources within society. Therefore, economy must be in service for the human rights and also respecting the environmental limitations. That is what we need to be able to coexist. And how will we put this into practice? In practice, we have possible measurements of those many aspects. On the environmental side, on our environmental ceiling, we have the issues of fresh water, climate, the acidification of oceans, chemical pollution, and others. We have a series of aspects that can be measured and that represent our possibility for the future. Another point, which we can see here, is the social base. We have identified a number of issues that relate to social issues, like water, income, education, disaster resilience, the political voice, jobs, energy, social care, gender equality, health, food. Those are many aspects that represent what is, in fact, to satisfy the human needs. And how does it work? Within Oxfam's discussion, we have the idea of monitoring the social floor. For each one of these elements, we have indicators. We have measurements that allow us knowing if we are doing well, if we are too slow, or even if we don't have the data to talk about this issue. It gives us an orientation on how well we are moving or not. And also on the environmental ceiling side, we have many elements that are being overshooted, some others that where we still have slack to advance, and others where we don't even have the measurements. If we can effectively monitor these floors and ceilings, these variables which make the social-environmental balance, and if we can make a good income distribution, we have a project for 2015. We'll have the path we want to follow. This is the proposal, that in Rio+20 we can set up our bearing to build this compass towards the future we want, and everyone can be a part of that.